Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome back to Dartmouth our 50th reunion class. They will join us now, led by Platform Marshal John Rassius.
Okay, I have a first and a second, so I will play first. Right.
But you won't.
No, we have a march off between each.
They're strong.
Yeah.
Welcome back, class of 1961. Another notable milestone to mention while the 50th reunion class is marching in, Roger Murtha of the Hart School Brass Ensemble has loyally performed at our commencement for the past 50 years. We would like to recognize and thank Roger and the Hart School Brass Ensemble for his 50 years of service. Thank you, Roger. For our 50th reunion class and their guests, I would like to say welcome home. I wish you'd all join me in an applause of welcome for the class of 1961. The academic procession for the 2011 Dartmouth Commencement will begin now.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I welcome you to the 2011 Commencement at Dartmouth College. This commencement takes place in the 241st year of the college. The opening prayer will be offered by Richard Crocker, College Chaplain and Dean of the Tucker Foundation.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. On this day of Pentecost, we remember the promise, your sons and daughters shall prophesy, old men and women shall dream dreams, young men and women shall see visions. Today, old ones, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, in body and spirit, see their dreams realized. Today, young ones, our students, our sons and daughters, our grandsons and granddaughters, see visions. We're all full of hope and gratitude. May God's Spirit rest upon us all, enabling us to listen to the groaning of a fragile, endangered, and violent world, and enabling us to speak with voices of compassion that everyone can understand. May the dreams of the old and the visions of the young lead us to a world of justice, mercy, and peace. Amen.
Candidates for advanced degrees will be presented by their respective deans. A professional photographer is present, so we will appreciate the audience cooperation in keeping the aisles clear. After the candidates for the advanced degrees have been presented, the president will confer all degrees. Because of the threat of rain during the ceremony, and in order to preserve the parchment and the calligraphy on the diplomas, students will not receive their diplomas when they come forward, but they will have their names announced and accept the congratulations of the deans. The names of graduate students will be read as they come forward. Graduating students may pick up their diplomas at the following locations immediately after the ceremony. Thayer graduates in the Cummings Great Hall. Graduate students in Arts and Sciences, 3rd floor, Wentworth Hall. Dartmouth medical students, 302 Remsen, Student Affairs Office. TDI graduates, 3rd floor, Wentworth Hall. Undergraduate students, Baker Lobby until 2 p.m. MBA graduates on Monday, 111 Tuck Hall, MBA Program Office. Guests wishing to view the ceremony indoors on closed-circuit television may do so in one of the following locations: Dartmouth Hall classrooms, the Collis Common Ground, Hopkins Center, Spalding Auditorium, and Carson Hall, room 60, which is reserved for accessible seating. Thank you. The candidate for degree of Master of Business Administration will now be presented by Dean Paul Danos.
Mr. President, the women and men standing before you have completed all requirements for the degree of Masters of Business Administration. At the request of the faculty of the Amos Stuck School and on their behalf, I'm proud to present them to you for conferring of those degrees.
The candidates for degree of Master of Arts, Master of Arts in Liberal Studies, and Master of Science will now be presented by Dean Brian Pogue.
Mr. President, the arts and science graduate students standing before you have completed all the requirements of Dartmouth College for the degrees of Master of Arts in Liberal Studies, or Master of Science. At the request of the faculty and on their behalf, I proudly present them to you for the awarding of those degrees.
The candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Engineering and Master of Engineering Management will now be presented by Dean Joseph Helble.
Mr. President, the women and men now presented to you have completed all of the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Engineering and Masters of Engineering Management. At the request of the faculty of the Thayer School of Engineering and on their behalf, I proudly present them to you for the awarding of those degrees.
The candidates for degree Master of Public Health will now be presented by Dean Wiley Souba.
Mr. President, the women and men now presented to you have completed all of the requirements of Dartmouth Medical School for the degree Master of Public Health. At the request of the faculty and on their behalf, I am pleased to present these candidates for your conferring of those degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Dartmouth College, I confer upon you the degrees witnessed by the testimonials you are about to receive and declare you entitled to all the rights, honors, and special obligations pertaining thereto.
Will the degree recipients please come forward to receive their diplomas?
For the degree of Masters of Business Administration, Stephen Hooper, Jr. Anshul Acharya. Anshul Agarwal.
You're going to alternate?
Chaitanya Agarwal.
For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Caitlin Marie Claire Johnson.
Seyun An.
Leo Anzagira.
Allison Arnsman.
Saria Azmat.
Hector Arwez Menendez.
Kyle Douglas Betts.
Sarah Ostrin Willis.
Maxwell Thomas Bogren.
Thomas Baldwin.
Brian Joseph Bizzello.
Richa Bansal.
Alice Chaplain Bradley.
Stephen Bates.
Christopher Steeris Bustard.
Manuel Betacarats.
Daniel B. Chamberlain.
Jeffrey Boink.
Matthew Tajan Chong.
Ann Careyhill.
Thomas John Collier.
Jung-Soo Choi.
Ross Patrick Connor.
Allison Connolly.
Brogan Meredith Cully.
Francisco Dondo.
Sean Reese Curry.
Nicole Dotz Wright.
Matthew Galen Dahlhausen.
Langston Duggar.
Adam Thomas Donor.
Shauna Ferguson.
Nicholas L. Edwards.
John Gilman.
Maxwell Harrison Fagan.
Justin Graham.
Evelyn Ann Fisher.
Nadine Graham.
Francis Fortin Uhl.
Diego Grinnell Nebat.
Remy Luke Gottheil.
Ross Gaida.
Jan Arthur Theodore Gramatsky.
Kazuaki Hatsugai.
Benjamin Kalem Hemini.
Amy Hudson.
Natsomi Hitomi.
Ryu Iwase.
Shahan Ahmed Huda.
Jeffrey Jackson.
Ashish Raj Shoshi.
Justin Johnson.
Michael David Keller.
Ari Kahan.
Elizabeth Shelley Kemp.
Rajeshwar Kanapathy.
Patrick Michael Kennedy.
Enoch Kariuki.
Young Junig Kim.
Jason Klinghoffer.
Heather Lynn Kluk.
Mukund Kulashekaran.
Nils Peter Andrews Kuhn.
Hugh Lee.
Marion Sarah Laird.
Brian Lodigiani.
Jasmine Lee.
Richard Lytle.
Sarah Marie Lee.
Chakrapani Mandava.
Chelsea Ann Liddell.
Sina Maxfield.
Max Lewis Lifson.
Christina McCalla.
Yolanda Chia Yilin.
Jennifer Merrill.
Christabel Dorcas Nanjala Makoka.
Marcos Mesquita Freire.
Christopher Scott Martin.
John Moran.
Hope Elizabeth McIntyre.
Francis Murphy.
Benjamin James Meggs.
Dipali Narula.
Myung Un Tiamin.
Christopher Nicholas.
Ashley Elizabeth Morishika.
Lauren Nichols.
Rahul Cockerell.
George Ofori Boadu.
Benjamin Morton Moskowitz.
Momoka Osako.
Anson John Moxness.
Edgar Pastrana.
Christian M. Ortiz.
Francisco Jose Pesquiera.
Samuel David Peck.
David Picot.
Andrew A. Pay.
Marcelo Podesta.
Emily Chamberlain Porter.
Sravan Prati.
Natalie M. Rivest.
Daniel Reed.
Julianne Michelle Sheeman.
Shahan Rifat.
J. Paul Sibacher.
Harish Sharma.
Garrett George Simpson.
Quan Shen.
Pavel A. Sotstuff.
Richard Smith.
Lakshmi Srinivishan.
Colin Stewart.
Adam Christopher Strawn.
Matthew Stoner.
Tatlue Tiha.
Ian Tay.
Brittany Ann Thomas.
Chago Teodoro.
Jules Tobias Valentino Valenti.
Jose Carlos Tolosa Escoboza.
Andrew McIntyre Vitanian.
Jason Tung.
Iwei Wan.
Ambrose Ushi.
Christopher James Zentner.
Denzel Vaughn.
For the degree of Master of Engineering Management, Frederick Hampton Roy III.
Sasha Vyash.
Sujit Rajendra Adia.
Richie Wang.
Vishoka Balus Brahmayan.
Haiying Wang.
Alexandra de Siena Blackstone.
Vincent Wu.
Rose Ann Bay.
Caitlin Sherry Yacey.
Andrea June Yejan.
Daniel Yacey.
Weiron Chang.
Igor Zamkovsky.
Rohan Charte Duth. Prithvi Dasra Ruja. Varsha Uluri. Fei Guo, Sathishish Guru Nathan, Carolyn E. Hammond, Ramkumar Jayasankar, Christopher H. Johnson, Jessica Khan, Daniel Koh, Rahun Vijay Lathia, Alex Jeremiah Lippy, Yiming Lu, Tiffany Yifan Lu, Douglas Scott Matheson, Jessica Elizabeth Minot, Siddharth Nagandraprasad, Jaitanima Hershey Meshpi, Wei Peng, Kaushik Rapkar, Sumpada Rajan, Pratik Yanadi Reddy, Jessica Jane Schwartz, Karel Singh, Sarah Smiley, Ishita Sood, Jonathan Michael Sullivan, Patrick Trofa, Kartik Vital, Gaurav Jayesh Brora, William Wallace Whitman Jr., Shuang Wu, Jingxi Ying. For the degree Master of Arts, Elizabeth M. Gray, Christel Bivona, Daniel Dulcime, Kristen Flannery, Amber Godey, Roy G. Guzman, William Joseph Huddleston, Victoria Yaharian, Dara Joy Lustig, Johanna S. Meyer, Larissa Roizen, Alexander Robert Roten. For the degree Master of Arts in Liberal Studies, Bavara Vincenzo, Tanvi Chug, Dennis Joseph Dwyer, Eve Endicott, Mary Elizabeth Frattini, Stephen William Freeborn, James R. Gauthier, Gregory Hill, Diana Lawrence, Gregory McKechnie, Meg Houston Maker, Jane McLaughlin, Marissa Miller, Michael David Miner, Timothy Michael Murphy, Christiane Pearson, Sheila Quigley, Grace Randolph, Jonathan James Ricord, Stephanie Reigert, Joseph R. Schaefer, Yevgenia Schulman, Jillian M. Smith, Anthony Charles Salakwa, Wynne Washburn, Dawn Elizabeth Wigan, Stephanie Wolfe, Yangping Zhu, Mary Young. For the degree Master of Science, Radha Baisik, Andrew William Cherney, Nimi Dulakar, Alina Jamankulova, Li Yu, Hao Lu Wu, Jyotirishman Nag, Sanati J. Taka, Tianyu Wang, Ru Ji, Yayu Zhang, Shiraz Qasim, Robert Nicholas D'Angelo, Scott Nathan Decker, Jeffrey Forsyth, Garrett Gamache, Daniel Vincent Harburg, Alexander Latham, Adam Wojciech Musiko, Randall Rich DiMartino, Gaetian Celine Michaud, Christopher David Missinger, Thomas R. Perry, Anuradha Ramanath. April Anjali Prafugam Simila. Anita Shrivastava. Darnish Sade. Candidates for the degree Master of Health: Miriam Ahmad Ayad, Rachel Marie Bellick, Sheila Zhu Zhang, Thomas Shashura, Meenakshi Davaluri, Sarah Jane Dotson, Mary Gardape Ivanovsky, Susan Julia Flath, Christina Marie Gilbreth, Justin Harris Grandstein, Jonathan Havdra, Corey Douglas Hoyne, Catherine Elizabeth Hauser, Melanie Kam Liline, Arthur J. Kim, Laura Marie Kozakevich, Alexander J. Lowe, Catherine McKeston, Lynn Marguerite Morgan, Erin Elizabeth Onstad, Emily Jean Onifer, Allison Elise Peterson, Peter Casale Palangio, Susan Helen Schnackenberg, Eric Joshua Schultz, Evan Sloan Seeley, Melissa Ann Straub, Terry Yao Tian, Andrew Lawrence Wickerham, Adele Teresa Willem, Devin Renee Young.
The candidates for degree of Doctor of Medicine will now be presented by Dean Wiley Souba.
Mr. President, the women and men now presented to you have completed all of the requirements of Dartmouth Medical School for the degree of Doctor of Medicine. At the request of the faculty and on their behalf, I am proud to present these candidates to you for your conferring of those degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Dartmouth College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Medicine and declare you entitled to all the rights, honors, and special obligations pertaining thereto.
Will the degree recipients please come forward to receive their diplomas?
Thomas Franson, Laura Amar Dolan, Boris Arbit, M. Allison Aronsman, Isida Buku, Joseph Camacho, Andrew Chase Krapser, Alyssa Kurda, Brian C. Doyle, Nicholas Ellis, Yukaku Honda, Derek Jenkins, Elizabeth Yarnell Killeen, Abiodun Kukoyi, Ernest Lee, Harjot Singh Man, Catherine Christine McInnes. Patricio Roman. Aaron Sullivan. Nicholas Tangchavong. James W. Thomas. Jennifer Tonneson. Anthony Velasquez. Aaron Washburn. And Benjamin T. Young. Congratulations to the MD class of 2011.
Candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy will now be presented by Dean Brian Pogue.
Mr. President, the arts and science graduate students standing before you have completed all the requirements of Dartmouth College for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. At the request of the faculty and on their behalf, I now proudly present each of them to you for the awarding of that degree.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Dartmouth College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and declare you entitled to all the rights, honors, and special obligations pertaining thereto.
Will the degree recipients please come forward to receive their diplomas?
Doctor of Philosophy, Bradley Stephen DeMay, Biological Sciences. Philip Edward Alford, Chemistry. Vibor Bott, Computer Science. Joshua Brody, Computer Science. Winton Goodhand Brown, Physics and Astronomy. Brock Allen Burke, Engineering Sciences. Christina L. Caudle, Psychological and Brain Sciences. Tinglan Tina Chang Albertschart, Pharmacology and Toxicology. Timothy W. Chapp, Chemistry. C. Chen, Engineering Sciences. Yixuan Zhang, Biological Sciences. James Gregory Cripps, Microbiology and Immunology. Patrick Ryan Cushing, Biochemistry. F. Caroline Davis, Psychological and Brain Sciences. Min Ding, Pharmacology and Toxicology. Liang Fei Dennis, Pharmacology and Toxicology. Andre A. Fortuna, Computer Science. Fabrizio V. Galimberti, Pharmacology and Toxicology. Gavin D. Grant, Genetics. Ryan E. Johnson, Physics and Astronomy. Paritosh Anil Kavathekar, Computer Science. William Brandon Kerr, Computer Science. Jonathan Kenneth Clean, experimental and molecular medicine. Sumire Kobayashi, physics and astronomy. Nicholas D. Lane, computer science. Zichao Li, engineering sciences. Huan Liu, genetics. Danny Milosavljevic, physics and astronomy. Michael Blair Miller, biochemistry. Emiliano Miluzzo, computer science. Amitavo Mitra, biological sciences. Michael J. Malloy, microbiology and immunology. Ross Edward O'Hara, psychological and brain sciences. Daniel Groban Olson, engineering sciences. Christine M. Palmer, biological sciences. Gregory Petrix, mathematics. Christopher Mark Polashensky, engineering sciences. Dafina Pruthi, physiology. Adam Michael Rauerdink, engineering sciences. Laura Gilbert Remus, physics and astronomy. Paige Elizabeth Rinker, mathematics. Maximilian Alexander Rogers, biochemistry. Ralph Rookrieman, mathematics. Nils Frederick Sandell, engineering sciences. Yushani Scarlett, microbiology and immunology. David Pasquale Sicilia, physics and astronomy. Susan Sun, engineering sciences. Enrique Trevino, mathematics. David C. Twardowski, engineering sciences. Pablo Valdez, engineering sciences. Dylan D. Wagner, psychological and brain sciences. Jason Boak Wright, genetics. Shue Weiwei, physics and astronomy. Tamara Zaytouni, genetics. And Tian Zhou, engineering sciences.
Mr. President, on behalf of Dartmouth's faculties and pursuant to votes by the College Board of Trustees, I present to you 9 remarkable individuals for conferring upon each of them the degree honoris causa. First, for the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, Russell A. Boss.
Ron Boss, for 5 decades, you've been a loyal Dartmouth son, driven business leader, avid sailor, proud father, and the Big Green's #1 tennis fan. A true Rhode Islander, you learned to sail at age 3 and continue to this day. Raised in the Bay State, you returned following service in the U.S. Coast Guard to join your family business, the A.T. Cross Company. Rising from general manager to president and chairman, you worked tirelessly for more than 40 years to make this company the global leader in fine writing instruments. Your life reveals a sense of obligation to give back to those you care about. Upon your return to your home state, you immersed yourself in civic activities, including serving on the boards of local schools, as chairman of the United Way, and as a trustee at Rhode Island Hospital. Dartmouth has played an integral part in your life as you have served as Alumni Council President, Class Head Agent, Reunion Giving Committee Chair, and in many other volunteer roles. You also sent 2 of your 3 beautiful daughters to Dartmouth. Your youngest, Allie, lost her battle to cancer and was taken from us much too soon. In honor of Allie's memory as a star scholar athlete, you became the force behind the Alexis Boss Tennis Center, once again giving back to your beloved community. When the Dartmouth women's tennis team won their first ever Ivy League title this year, you heralded the proud victory to alumni and friends throughout the country. Ron, as you celebrate your 50th class reunion with the great class of 1961, we proudly recognize your commitment to family, business, community, and your alma mater as we present you with the honorary degree, Doctor of Humane Letters.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Laws, Honorable George H.W. Bush.
President George Herbert Walker Bush. First, let me wish you a happy 87th birthday today. Your life of public service began early. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, you delayed college to become, at 18, the youngest aviator in the Navy, flying 58 combat missions. During one mission, your aircraft was struck by flak. With your engine aflame, you completed your bombing run first before you ditched in the Pacific. After the war, you graduated from Yale and then declined the security of the East Coast for the life of a wildcatter in the oil fields of West Texas. When your ventures prospered, you sold your share of the business, dedicating yourself to what would become one of the most distinguished careers of public service in the history of this republic. Member of Congress, Ambassador to the United Nations, Chairman of the Republican National Committee, Chief of the United States Liaison Office in the People's Republic of China, Director of Central Intelligence, Vice President of the United States, President of the United States. You worked with Democrats and Republicans alike to enact landmark legislation, including the Clean Air Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. As the Cold War came to an end, you negotiated the reunification of Germany and extended support to elected governments throughout Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union. In 1990, you signed into law the Clery Act, which brought national attention to sexual assault and paved the way for all colleges to become safer and more just. I have just repeated the oath taken by George Washington, you said, during your inaugural address, and the Bible on which I placed my hand is the Bible on which he placed his. Like Washington, you command our gratitude, not only for your accomplishments, but also for your example, love of country, devotion to family, integrity, and selflessness. In the magnificent life of the 41st President of the United States of America, Dartmouth will forever join all Americans in finding a source of inspiration and courage. George Herbert Walker Bush, in recognition of your fearless contributions to the military effort during World War II and your tangible impact on a post-Cold War Europe, Dartmouth proudly awards you the honorary degree, Doctor of Laws.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Arts, Roz Chast.
Roz Chast, you are a humorist with a rapacious appetite for learning and a finely honed sense of irony. The New Yorker art editor Lee Lawrence has called you an artistic genius and credits your work with widening the range of what cartoonists considered possible. Drawing inspiration from science, medicine, and your keen observation of human behavior, you display an investigator's propensity for categorizing and labeling. Your body of work forms a modern cabinet of curiosities as you curate the anxieties, obsessions, and secret pleasures of the human experience. You've been called one of the few cartoonists whose work would be funny even without pictures. But you also claim a drawing style all your own. Your early work inspired outrage in readers and in fellow cartoonists who were baffled by your refusal to conform to their understanding of what a cartoon should be. You told one interviewer, "I never deliberately set out to be different. That's just how I draw. But if I tried to conform to someone else's idea of what's funny, I'd have no compass at all." Perhaps what most sets you apart is your persistence. Your professors at the Rhode Island School of Design told you to forget cartoons, but you could not and did not. You first sold a cartoon to the New Yorker at the age of 23, and you have continued sending in a new batch of ideas every week for more than 30 years. While tastes and editorial directions have changed, appreciation for your work remains steadfast. The New Yorker has now published more than 1,000 of your works. Roz, in recognition of your unique vision, your endurance, and your resolute commitment to following your own path, Dartmouth proudly presents you with the honorary degree, Doctor of Arts.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, Eloise Cobell.
Eloise Cobell, you are an honored member of the Blackfeet Nation who challenged the U.S. government on behalf of hundreds of thousands of tribal citizens. Born and raised in Browning, Montana, in the shadow of the Rockies, you left to get an education and then moved to Seattle to begin your career in accounting. But the majestic mountains of your home presented a lure you could not deny, and so you returned to the reservation. By age 30, you had become treasurer of the Blackfeet Nation. In that role, you exposed the widespread mismanagement of Indian trust accounts by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. When your repeated requests for explanations and improvements went ignored, you became the lead plaintiff in a class action lawsuit against the federal government. You fought what many said was an impossible battle, persisting as the case dragged on through 3 presidential administrations. After more than a decade in the courts, you helped secure a $3.4 billion settlement that will bring some measure of justice to 500,000 Native Americans. You are also a full-time cattle rancher and a tireless advocate for social, environmental, and agricultural causes. Where others see deficits, you see opportunities. You founded not only the first land trust in Indian country, but also the first Native-owned bank on a reservation in the United States. That bank has had a measurable impact on your community, enabling the creation of dozens of new Indian-owned businesses. Its success eventually led to the founding of the Native American Bank, a joint enterprise of more than 20 tribal nations. You now serve as executive director of the bank's nonprofit affiliate, the Native American Community Development Corporation, working with Indian communities to support sustainable economic development. Eloise, you've used your financial acumen to improve your community and make life better for countless Native people. You fought a David and Goliath battle and won. In recognition of your extraordinary bravery and determination, Dartmouth is proud to award you the honorary degree, Doctor of Humane Letters.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Arts, Ruby D.
Ruby D., you were raised in Harlem, where you bore witness to racism, poverty, and other forms of injustice on a daily basis. But you were also part of a vibrant and supportive community, dedicated to spirited intellectual debates and grassroots political activism. You attended your first protests as a child, joining picket lines to rail against discriminatory hiring practices. Those early lessons in civic engagement paved the way for a lifetime of activism. A devoted union member, you also joined the NAACP, the Congress for Racial Equality, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. With your friends Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, you fought for civil rights and a more just society. Along with your husband Ossie Davis, you were instrumental in organizing the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, which helped to secure passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act the following year. In the middle of all this extraordinary activism, you also work steadily in creative fields. The range of your expression is vast, spanning all forms of media, including the stage, the cinema, television, radio, audio recordings, and the written word. As a celebrated actress, you've used your craft not only to entertain, but also to educate, instigate, and inspire by taking on roles in such politically charged works as Bozeman and Lena, A Raisin in the Sun, and The Incident. You've received an astonishing array of honors, including an Emmy, a Grammy, 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards, the NAACP Image Award, Kennedy Center Honors, the National Medal of Art, and the National Civil Rights Museum's Lifetime Achievement Award, as well as membership in the Broadway Hall of Fame. Dartmouth is proud to add to this list of accolades by granting you the honorary degree, Doctor of Arts.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Science, Michael S. Gazaniga.
Michael Gazaniga. If the brain is the final frontier, then you are one of its greatest explorers. In your own words, you are a firm believer in the beauty and wonder of science. Your father, a surgeon, cultivated your childhood interest by helping you set up a biochemistry lab in the garage. After following your older brother to Dartmouth, you were expected to go to medical school. But a summer job at the California Institute of Technology in the lab of psychobiologist Roger Sperry lit a spark that became a bonfire. After graduating from Dartmouth 50 years ago, you returned to Sperry's lab as a graduate student. There, your groundbreaking research gave the world a critical understanding of the ways in which the hemispheres of the brain specialize and work together. In addition to undertaking a host of national leadership roles, you have trained and mentored many scientists in your career. In 1996, you returned to Hanover as a member of the Dartmouth faculty, teaching scores of undergraduate and graduate students and establishing Dartmouth's Center for Cognitive Neuroscience. Your landmark work, The Cognitive Neurosciences, is recognized as the source book for the field. You also served for 8 years in the President's Council on Bioethics, where, along with people with vastly different backgrounds and experiences, you tackled the moral questions surrounding such issues as cloning, aging, and stem cell research. In 2005, your career came full circle as you returned to the site of your first faculty appointment, the University of California at Santa Barbara, where you ran the Sage Center for the Study of the Mind. In May, you were elected to the National Academy of Sciences. Mike, you've taken your place in history as the father of cognitive neuroscience. For your extraordinary contributions to the field and to the worlds of philosophy, psychology, linguistics, and anthropology, Dartmouth is proud to award you the honorary degree, Doctor of Science.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Science, Howard Hyatt.
Howard Hyatt, you have said that the most gratifying part of your long career in medicine has been caring for the sick and impoverished. Compassion is your calling card, and for more than 60 years, you have used your profound talents and legendary work ethic to expand our knowledge of health and illness, reduce health disparities, and to ensure patient safety throughout the world. A brilliant student, you vaulted from Harvard College and into Harvard Medical School after only 2 years. You turned your talents first to basic science, serving on the team at the Pasteur Institute in Paris that identified messenger RNA. As a young researcher, you helped bring molecular and cell biology to medical problems at Harvard-affiliated hospital. You helped thousands of patients during your time as an oncologist and chief of medicine at Beth Israel Hospital. As dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, you guided the institution to new prominence in the biological and decision sciences, health policy, and management. You developed and led the Harvard Medical Practice Study, which has been called the most important investigation of medical malpractice in history. Your interest in human well-being was ever broad. As a founder of International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, you courageously opposed the final epidemic of global nuclear arms buildup. At Brigham and Women's Hospital, you co-founded the Division of Social Medicine and Health Inequalities. You also played a significant role in the growth and success of Partners in Health, bringing treatment of AIDS and multi-drug-resistant tuberculosis to resource-poor countries. As a teacher and mentor to thousands of medical students and young doctors, you cultivated a generation of socially responsible physicians. And now you are nurturing their successors, tirelessly guiding, encouraging, and supporting the careers and spirits of our most promising and most humane young clinicians. Howard, you've been hailed for making public health the watchdog and conscience of medicine. Your vision, initiative, and instinct for collaboration have increased our capacity to care for one another. Dartmouth is proud to award you the honorary degree, Doctor of Science.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, Joel Klein.
Joel Klein, you understand the transformative power of education. Growing up in low-income housing, you attended New York City public schools, where dedicated teachers gave you the gifts of opportunity and purpose. Those educators inspired you to pay it forward and ultimately brought you back home to reform the school system that launched you on your remarkable career. With diplomas and honors from Columbia and Harvard Law School, you clerked for U.S. Supreme Court Justice Lewis Powell and founded your own law firm. You served as Deputy White House Counsel for President Clinton and as U.S. Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Antitrust Division. In 2002, Mayor Michael Bloomberg offered you the position of New York City Schools Chancellor and asked you to turn that system into a national model. I've been training for this job my whole life, you said, and what a job it was. The responsibility was enormous. More than 1,600 schools, 1.1 million students, 136,000 employees, and a $22 billion budget. But you were undaunted. You put your creativity to work, building a system of great schools by empowering leaders and excellent teachers. You enlisted the help of corporations and foundations. Despite having prosecuted the landmark case, United States versus Microsoft, earlier in your career, you even persuaded the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to fund your efforts. At the end of your tenure in 2010, the New York Times observed that you delivered on your promise to challenge orthodoxies, shake up the status quo, and risk dislike in the name of progress. Today, you continue to advocate for education reform, innovation, and universal access to the American dream. Joel, in recognition of the vision, grit, and passion you have shown in putting children first, and for your unfailing belief in human potential, Dartmouth proudly presents you with the honorary degree, Doctor of Humane Letters.
Mr. President, for the degree Doctor of Arts, Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien, you delight us with a brand of comedic genius all your own. At once irreverent and sharply perceptive of our times, you strike the chord of a new generation, the generation we salute here today. Like all great humor, yours illuminates something fundamental about the human condition. We laugh with you, but also at ourselves. Your earliest attempts at humor were in the Massachusetts home where you grew up in a bustling family of Irish Catholics, or as you called it, a captive audience. At Harvard, you studied history and literature, yet found time for rigorous research in the sciences, like setting fire to Twinkies to see if they would burn. You were president of the Lampoon not once, but twice. The Crimson called you the preeminent jokester of the class of '85. Yet for all the merriment, you worked hard, and still do. As Winston Churchill put it, a joke is a serious thing. It takes persistence, trial and error, and a strong sense of oneself. Your first night as a talk show host was nothing short of a flop in the eyes of many critics. But you were not put off. Night after night, you stuck at it and perfected your craft. Today, Americans watch Letterman and Leno, but they don't watch O'Brien. They watch Conan. And that speaks to the unique personal bond you have forged with the people of Earth, as you once called your audience. No matter how hard you try to lose them by switching times and channels, they keep on watching. Conan, you make us think harder about and feel better about ourselves and the rest of the world. For that and the laughter you give us, we welcome you into our Dartmouth family and award you the honorary degree, Doctor of Arts.
I've been living in Los Angeles for 2 years, and I've never been this cold in my life. I will pay anyone here $300 for Gore-Tex gloves. Anybody? I'm serious, I have the cash. Before I begin, I must point out that behind me sits a highly admired President of the United States and decorated war hero, while I, a cable television talk show host, has been chosen to stand here and impart wisdom. I pray I never witness a more damning example of what is wrong with America today. Graduates, faculty, parents, relatives, undergraduates, and old people that just come to these things. Good morning and congratulations to the Dartmouth class of 2011. Today, you have achieved something special, something only 92% of Americans your age will ever know: a college diploma. That's right, with your college diploma, you now have a crushing advantage over 8% of the workforce. I'm talking about dropout losers like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Mark Zuckerberg. Incidentally, speaking of Mr. Zuckerberg, only at Harvard would someone have to invent a massive social network just to talk with someone in the next room. My first job as your commencement speaker is to illustrate that life is not fair. For example, you have worked tirelessly for 4 years to earn the diploma you'll be receiving this weekend. That was great. And Dartmouth is giving me the same degree for interviewing the 4th lead in Twilight. Deal with it. Another example that life is not fair: if it does rain, the powerful rich people on stage get the tent. Deal with it. I would like to thank President Kim for inviting me here today. After my phone call with President Kim, I decided to find out a little bit about the man. He goes by President Kim and Dr. Kim. To his friends, he's Jim Kim, J to the K, Special K, J.K. Rowling, the Just Kidding Kimster, and most puzzling, Stinky Pete. He serves as the chair of the Department of Global Health and Social Medicine at Harvard Medical School, spearheaded a task force for the World Health Organization on global health initiatives, won a MacArthur Genius Grant, and was one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in 2006. Good God, man, what the hell are you compensating for? Seriously. We get it, you're smart. By the way, Dr. Kim, you were brought to Dartmouth to lead. And as a world-class anthropologist, you were also hired to figure out why each of these graduating students ran around a bonfire 111 times. But I thank you for inviting me here, Stinky Pete. And it is an honor. Though some of you may see me as a celebrity, you should know that I once sat where you sit. Literally. Late last night, I snuck out here and sat in every seat. I did it to prove a point. I'm not bright, and I have a lot of free time. But this is a wonderful occasion. It's great to be here in New Hampshire, where I am getting an honorary degree and all the legal fireworks I can fit in the trunk of my car. You know, New Hampshire's such a special place. When I arrived, I took a deep breath of this crisp New England air and thought, wow, I'm in this state that's next to the state where Ben & Jerry's ice cream is made. But don't get me wrong, I take my task today very seriously. When I got the call 2 months ago to be your speaker, I decided to prepare with the same intensity many of you have devoted to an important term paper. So late last night, I began. I drank 2 cans of Red Bull, snorted some Adderall, played a few hours of Call of Duty, and then opened my browser. I think Wikipedia put it best when they said Dartmouth College is a private Ivy League university in Hanover, New Hampshire, United States. Thank you and good luck. To communicate with you students today, I have gone to great lengths to become well-versed in your unique linguistic patterns. In fact, just this morning, I left Baker Berry with my Trippy Barry to eat a Billy Bob at the Bema when my Flitz de Francesca was blitzjacked by some D-bag on his FSP. Yes, I've done my research. This college was named after the 2nd Earl of Dartmouth, a good friend of the 3rd Earl of UC Santa Cruz, and the Duke of the Barbizon School of Beauty. Your school motto is Vox Clamantis and Deserto, which means voice crying out in the wilderness. This is easily the most pathetic school motto I have ever heard. Apparently, it narrowly beat out silently weeping in thick shrub and whimpering in moist leave without pants. Your school color is green. And this color was chosen by Frederick Mather in 1867 because, and this is true, I looked it up, quote, it was the only color that had not been taken already. I cannot remember hearing anything so sad. Dartmouth, you have an inferiority complex, and you should not. You have graduated more great fictitious Americans than any other college. Meredith Grey of Grey's Anatomy, Pete Campbell from Mad Men, Michael Corleone from The Godfather. In fact, I look forward to next year's valedictory address by your esteemed classmate, Count Chocula. Of course, your greatest fictitious graduate is Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner. Man, can you imagine if a real Treasury Secretary made those kinds of decisions? Now I know what you're going to say, Dartmouth. You're going to say, well, we've got Dr. Seuss. Well, guess what? We're all tired of hearing about Dr. Seuss. Face it, the man rhymed fafloozle with snoozle. In the literary community, that's called cheating. Your insecurity is so great, Dartmouth, that you don't even think you deserve a real podium. I'm sorry, what the hell is this thing? It looks like you stole it from the set of Survivor, Nova Scotia. Seriously, it looks like something a bear would use at an AA meeting. No, Dartmouth, you must stand tall. Raise your heads high and feel proud. Because if Harvard, Yale, and Princeton are your self-involved, vain, name-dropping older brothers, you are the cool, sexually confident, lacrosse-playing younger sibling who knows how to throw a party and looks good in a down vest. Brown, of course, is your lesbian sister who never leaves her room. And Penn, Columbia, and Cornell, well, frankly, who gives a shit? Yes, I've always had a special bond with this school. In fact, this is my second time coming here. When I was 17 years old and touring colleges way back in the fall of 1980, I came to Dartmouth. Dartmouth was a very different place back then. I made the trip up from Boston on a mule. After asking the blacksmith in West Leb for directions, I came to this beautiful campus. No dormitories had been built yet, so I stayed with a family of fur traders in White River Junction. It snowed heavily during my visit, and I was trapped here for 4 months. I was forced to eat the mule, who a week earlier had been forced to eat the fur traders. Still, I love Dartmouth, and I vowed to return. But fate dealt a heavy blow. With no money, I was forced to enroll in a small local commuter school, a pulsating sore on a muddy elbow of the Charles River. I was a miserable wretch, and to this day I cannot help but wonder, what if I had gone to Dartmouth? If I had gone to Dartmouth, I might have spent at least some of my college years outside, and today I might not be allergic to all plant life, as well as most types of rock. If I had gone to Dartmouth right now, I'd be wearing a fleece thong instead of a lace thong. If I had gone to Dartmouth, I still wouldn't know the second verse to Dear Old Dartmouth. Face it, none of you do, you all mumble that part. If I had gone to Dartmouth, I'd have a liver the size and consistency of a beanbag chair. Finally, if I had gone to Dartmouth today, I'd be getting an honorary degree at Harvard. Imagine how awesome that would be. You are a great school, and you deserve a historic commencement address. That's right, I want my message today to be forever remembered because it changed the world. To do this, I must suggest groundbreaking policy. Winston Churchill gave his famous Iron Curtain speech at Westminster College in 1946. JFK outlined his nuclear disarmament policy at American University in 1963. Today, I would like to set forth my own policy here at Dartmouth. I call it the Conan Doctrine. Under the Conan Doctrine, all bachelor degrees will be upgraded to master's degrees. All master's degrees will be upgraded to PhDs. And all MBA students will be immediately transferred to a white-collar prison. Under the Conan Doctrine, Winter Carnival will become Winter Carnival and be moved to Rio. Clothing will be optional, all expenses paid by the Alumni Association. Your nickname, the Big Green, will be changed to something more kick-ass, like the Jade Blade, the Seafoam Avenger, or simply Limezilla. The D-plan and quarter system will finally be updated to the 1/64th system. Semesters will last 3 days. Students will be encouraged to take 48 semesters off. They must, however, be on campus during their sophomore 4th of July. Under the Conan Doctrine, I will reinstate tube stock. And I will punish those who tried to replace it with field stock. Rafting and beer are a much better combination than a field and a beer. I happen to know that in 2 years they were going to downgrade field stock to desk stock. 7 hours of fun sitting quietly at your desk. Don't let those bastards do it. And finally, under the Conan Doctrine, all commencement speakers who shamelessly pander with cheap inside references designed to get childish applause will be forced to apologize to the greatest graduating class in the history of the world, Dartmouth class of 2011 rolls! Besides policy, another hallmark of great commencement speeches is deep, profound advice like Reach for the Stars. Well, today, I'm not going to waste your time with empty cliches. Instead, I'm going to give you real, practical advice that you will need to know if you're going to survive the next few years. First, adult acne lasts longer than you think. I almost canceled 2 days ago because I had a zit on my eye. Guys, this is important. You cannot iron a shirt while wearing it. Here's another one. If you live on ramen noodles for too long, you lose all feelings in your hands, and your stool becomes a white gel. And finally, wearing colorful Converse high tops beneath your graduation robe is a great way to tell your classmates that this is just the first of many horrible decisions you plan to make with the rest of your life. Of course, there are many parents here, and I have real advice for them as well. Parents, you should write this down. Many of your children, you haven't seen them in 4 years. Well, now you're about to see them every day when they come out of the basement to tell you the Wi-Fi isn't working. If your child majored in fine arts or philosophy, you have good reason to be worried. The only place they are now really qualified to get a job is ancient Greece. Good luck with that degree. The traffic today on East Wheelock is going to be murder, so once they start handing out diplomas, you should slip out in the middle of the K's. And I have to tell you this, you will spend more money framing your child's diploma than they will earn in the next 6 months. It's tough out there, so be patient. The only people hiring right now are Panera Bread and Mexican drug cartels. Yes, you parents must be patient because it is indeed a grim job market out there. One of the reasons it's so tough finding work is that aging baby boomers refuse to leave their jobs. Trust me on this. Even when they promise you for 5 years they are going to leave and say it on television, I mean, you can go on YouTube right now and watch the guy do it. There is no guarantee they won't come back. Of course, I'm speaking generally. But enough, this is not a time for grim prognostications or negativity. No, I came here today because, believe it or not, I actually do have something real to tell you. 11 years ago, I gave an address to a graduating class at Harvard. I have not spoken at a graduation since because I thought I had nothing left to say. But then 2010 came. And now I'm here 3,000 miles from my home because I learned a hard but profound lesson last year, and I'd like to share it with you. In 2000, I told graduates, don't be afraid to fail. Well, now I'm here to tell you that though you should not fear failure, you should do your very best to avoid it. Nietzsche famously said, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What he failed to stress is that it almost kills you. Disappointment stings, and for driven, successful people like yourselves, it is disorienting. What Nietzsche should have said is, whatever doesn't kill you makes you watch a lot of Cartoon Network and drink mid-price Chardonnay at 11 in the morning. Now, by definition, commencement speakers at an Ivy League college are considered successful. But a little over a year ago, I experienced a profound and very public disappointment. I did not get what I wanted, and I left a system that had nurtured and helped define me for the better part of 17 years. I went from being in the center of the grid to not only off the grid, but underneath the coffee table that the grid sits on, lost in the shag carpeting that is underneath the coffee table supporting the grid. It was the making of a career disaster and a terrible analogy. But then something spectacular happened. Fog-bound, with no compass and adrift, I started trying things. I grew a strange cinnamon beard. I dove into the world of social media. I started tweeting my comedy. I threw together a national tour. I played the guitar. I did stand-up, wore a skin-tight blue leather suit, recorded an album, made a documentary, and frightened my friends and family. Ultimately, I abandoned all preconceived perceptions of my career path and stature and took a job on basic cable, with a network most famous for showing reruns, along with sitcoms created by a tall black man who dresses like an old black woman. I did a lot of silly, unconventional, spontaneous, and seemingly irrational things. And guess what? With the exception of the blue leather suit, it was the most satisfying and fascinating year of my professional life. To this day, I still don't understand exactly what happened, but I have never had more fun, been more challenged, and this is important, had more conviction about what I was doing. How could this be true? Well, it's simple. There are few things more liberating in this life than having your worst fear realized. I went to college with many people who prided themselves on knowing exactly who they were and exactly where they were going. At Harvard, 5 different guys in my class told me they would one day be president of the United States. 4 of them were later killed in motel shootouts. The other ones briefly hosted Blue's Clues before dying senselessly in yet another motel shootout. Your path at 22 will not necessarily be your path at 32 or 42. One's dream is constantly evolving, rising and falling, changing course. This happens in every job, but because I have worked in comedy for 25 years, I can probably speak best about my own profession. Way back in the 1940s, there was a very, very funny man named Jack Benny. He was a giant star, easily one of the greatest comedians of his generation. And a much younger man named Johnny Carson wanted very much to be Jack Benny. In some ways he was, but in many ways he wasn't. He emulated Jack Benny, but his own quirks and mannerisms, along with the changing medium, pulled him in a different direction. And yet, his failure to completely become his hero made him the funniest person of his generation. David Letterman wanted to be Johnny Carson, and was not. And as a result, my generation of comedians wanted to be David Letterman. And none of us are. My peers and I have all missed that mark in 1,000 different ways. But the point is this: it is our failure to become our perceived ideal that ultimately defines us and makes us unique. It's not easy, but if you accept your misfortune and handle it right, your perceived failure can become a catalyst for profound reinvention. So, at the age of 47, after 25 years of obsessively pursuing my dream, that dream changed. For decades in show business, the ultimate goal of every comedian was to host The Tonight Show. It was the holy grail. And like many people, I thought that achieving that goal would define me as successful. But that is not true. No specific job or career goal defines me, and it should not define you. In 2000, I told graduates to not be afraid to fail, and I still believe that. But today I tell you that whether you fear it or not, disappointment will come. The beauty is that through disappointment you can gain clarity, and with clarity comes conviction and true originality. Many of you here today are getting your diploma at this Ivy League school because you have committed yourself to a dream and worked hard to achieve it. And there is no greater cliche in a commencement address than follow your dream. Well, I'm here to tell you that whatever you think your dream is now, it will probably change, and that's okay. 4 years ago, many of you had a specific vision of what your college experience was going to be and who you were going to become. And I bet today most of you would admit that your time here was very different from what you imagined. Your roommates changed, your major changed. For some of you, your sexual orientation changed. I bet some of you have changed your sexual orientation since I began this speech. I know I have. But through the good, and especially the bad, the person you are now is someone you could never have conjured in the fall of 2007. I've told you many things today, most of it foolish, but some of it true. I'd like to end my address by breaking a taboo and quoting myself from 17 months ago. At the end of my final program with NBC, just before signing off, I said, "Work hard, be kind, and amazing things will happen." Today, receiving this honor and speaking to the Dartmouth class of 2011 from behind a tree trunk, I have never believed that more. Thank you very much and congratulations.
I want to take a moment to recognize one of our honorants, President George Herbert Walker Bush. As you know, today is his 87th birthday. We're honored that you've agreed to join us here to receive your honorary degree and spend part of your special day with us. I'm aware you have a very tight schedule and that you need to exit our ceremony now in order to attend other events that your family has planned. I want to thank you and Mrs. Bush for being so generous with your time with us at Dartmouth. They're singing happy birthday too. Happy birthday to you.
The President will now present retiring faculty and administrative officers.
It is my privilege to recognize those members of the faculty and administration who are retiring this academic year after long and devoted service to Dartmouth. An alphabetical listing of them can be found in the Commencement program. Please join me in thanking them for their many contributions. I now would like to take this opportunity to ask all of you to join me in welcoming back this day the 50th year reunion class. The class of 1961, welcome back.